So, hi everyone, and welcome to the podcast. We are today at the Thrive District in Fort Lauderdale, and my guest is Mr. Patrice Moretti, also known as Smog One in the art world. Smog, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good.
Doing really, really good?
Yes, sir.
So, we are just days away from the third edition of AODA, which is the Avenue of the Art Festival here in Fort Lauderdale. And you are part of it this year. So welcome to the festival.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do this festival, so I'm glad I was invited.
This year, the theme is 3D. So
Yes.
it totally fits in the 3D theme of this year. I mean, your characters, your lettering, everything is definitely 3D is what you have developed throughout the years.
It's what I enjoy. I enjoy puzzles and math, so the 3D aspect kind of like was a good challenge for me. You know, degrees, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, you really have to like really think where the light's coming from. If it hits one object, two objects, how far the object is, that depends on the shadows, how close. There's so much you have to calculate compared to an outline, which, by the way, just doing an outline and making it super nice is really difficult.
Sure.
Style takes a long time. People think they're just going to start doing letters, and no. It takes a real long time to develop a really clean style in outlines, and 3D is just another dimension, I guess, for me. You know.
Definitely is. So how long have you been painting, doing street art, lettering, graffiti?
So I've been doing graffiti since 1989. I basically just started on my own, and FS Crew in Miami started seeing me around and seeing the murals I did. They're like, "Oh, you should, come with us and do a mural." I'm like, all right. So we went to this place off the side of 95. It used to be the Crack Kills wall, because that's what I used to say on it.
Yes.
And then it was redone a couple times. So we went there. I went there with them for the first time in the back of the buildings, and they asked me to be an FS crew at that point. And
So this was the first crew that you joined?
yes, FS, and then FS and other crews like 7-Up, and everyone just became BSK, Blessed Style Kings, and that's where we were till we weren't anymore, I guess. People get older and people, have lives and they have kids and jobs, and
Exactly.
that happens, and you got to figure out, are you staying the art way, or are you going,
Yeah.
is it what you're going to do forever or not?
Well, but like we said, we know very, very well, whatever you guys do on the street, eventually you all move into canvas work,
Sure.
into galleries.
A lot of tattoo artists,
Exactly.
which I became a tattoo artist.
Oh, you've done that too.
Also, so when I got out of the graffiti, I didn't really get out. It's just that people got older and no one was getting around anymore. And I started airbrushing because the popular thing was like motorcycles. They were building motorcycles, Orange County choppers, all that stuff, So I got into all this airbrushing stuff. And then I was like, I need like a job. Once the whole bike thing went down and everything, I just needed a job like working as an artist. And all of a sudden, all this tattooing was on TV. Miami Ink and all this and that and that. And I'm like, this is what I should do. Lo and behold, I get an email from a shop in Palm Beach saying, we need a graffiti artist to do our tattoo shop.
All right.
So after I did the graffiti mural, they're like, do you want to apprentice being a tattoo artist? I'm like, you know what? I was looking for a job in art. Let's do it. So I went from, airbrushing and all that and really like bartending and stuff, making good money actually,
Yeah.
and left it just to tattoo.
Yeah, are you still tattooing right?
So I stopped tattooing. It was killing my back. Any tattoo artist out there will know. After a while, it's going to hurt your back, hurts your hands. And, the machines these days are way different than what we used to use. But I got sick of it. And my friend was like, you have to watch this movie. You have to watch this movie. He begged me for a year to watch Exit to the Gift Shop.
Oh, that's it. Yes.
So I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch it. And it struck a spark in me. I'm like, what am I doing? Tattoo. I'm a graffiti artist. It's like, I don't belong where I'm at. I hated tattooing, by the way.
Oh, you hate it?
I hated it. I only did it because it's like it was a good job that played as much as bartending, but was in art.
I was in arts, yes.
But I didn't enjoy it. I didn't hate it right at the same time, but I didn't enjoy it. To me, it was like the hardest way to possibly do art. was to use it in needles.
You
And
wanted to do, ended up doing, and just like, okay, that wasn't your...
no, I was always a muralist, a painter, like not a tattoo artist. So I just quit my job and I just got back into like just doing murals and going to Wynwood and starting to do murals and stuff like that. And again, after it was crazy because doing legal murals was crazy.
Yes, it was.
You know, like we didn't have legal walls back in the days. So I'm like, oh, we get to just paint this thing and do what we want on it? Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's what we always say about Wynwood. This is almost like a free-for-all over there. I mean, it used...
Oh, I mean, when I went there, people wouldn't even dare go there. You come nighttime, no one's even walking into that place.
No.
You know, this is why we could use that place, because no one would go in there. So we could just paint these murals. We'd actually make the place more beautiful. Painting these warehouses, we wouldn't even charge it. We're just doing it for free. That's it. That's what it was. That's how Wynwood really was started. It was by all the artists just going down there and painting for free and expressing themselves. 004 was right down the street. And that was they were the first to ever put my art in there and anywhere. First time my art was ever up, it was in 004. I pulled up, I had these paintings in the back. They saw me like, you want to put them up in there? I'm like, hell yeah. So yeah, Wynwood.
Yeah, Wynwood is, well, it was just changing.
Yeah.
Like the whole world is changing. Not everything is the same.
Change is inevitable.
It totally is. So, assuming at the beginning you were not doing 3D art, you were just doing kind of...
I was doing regular pieces.
Yes.
But it wasn't long till I started getting into 3D because I had a friend, Baser, that what he would do back in the days, you know, we didn't have the technology we have now. So if you wanted photos, you'd have always the guy that takes all the photos, and you would trade negatives with people in New York. So you'd have a connection in New York, and you'd send the negatives from the new pieces that were happening in Miami, and they would send you the negatives from the pictures they took. So you can go and print them out, and you'd have to send them back, and then it sends you back your things. And I saw 3D by Ernie. That's the first time I saw an Ernie piece, and I was like, holy crap. You know, there's 3D, and I got into it. And then later I got into magazines, and I started seeing Hesh and Dime, Lumit, of course, Lumit, which I met, and he was really nice.
Oh, good.
I met Lumit, and he was super cool, and I told him he's like, you know, one of the pioneers of 3D that put me to 3D, and he actually did a little Lumit in my book. I asked him to sign it, and he did like a little Lumit piece. I was like, oh my God, I have books with so much cool shit in it.
Talking about Ernie, we had it on a podcast a few months ago.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy. I love Ernie.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And what an artist he is.
Yep,
really,
for sure.
Work is so impeccable. I mean, you were talking about being so precise and everything in the 3D graph that you're doing. He is, and you are too. I mean, really.
And you know what? I see other great, sick 3D artists, and they're not as clean, but it kind of makes it more realistic that it's not so clean. It's like, yeah, it has they're just, you know, but these also like pioneers of the 3D art I'm thinking of.
But you notice that, that the work is not so clean, so...
Well, no, they do them so quickly, and it's not as clean as you think it is, but it works so good. It's just, I don't know. You just have to have, your brain just has to be just made for it.
So, of course, you see those things, you follow these lines, these crazy...
But still, there's other 3D artists that you look at it, and it's just so perfect. The 3D is so perfect. There's not a flaw in it. I look at mine, and like a day later, I'm like, this shadow should be here. This should be there. If this really did this, a cast shadow would come here, and the cast should be there. I've depicted,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I do.
But it's so crazy how some people it's just impeccable.
Do you have any names and anybody that you really follow that you especially admire?
Yeah, there's a lot. I just want to start throwing names out there and stuff like that. They're the pioneers of that 3D stuff, and a lot of them are Europeans as well.
European too. Talking about Europeans, so you were born in Paris, you came with your family in Florida at the age of 30, you were pretty young.
Yes.
And inspired by the hip-hop scene.
Yeah, my first friends were breakdancers. So I was held back a year because of, obviously I spoke French. So first, I literally moved to the Bahamas for a year. From Paris to the Bahamas. Which is like going from Manhattan to the Bahamas. It's like, right? And then I was there for a year. Then I moved to Florida. So my year in Bahamas was more like adjusting to like speaking English and stuff like that, right? But really cool spot. And then United States and Florida. And then I had to still be held back because I didn't really speak English that well. And then, but yeah, like after that year, and I started 6th grade, that's when like my friends were like all breakdancers.
They were,
and so they were like, no, they showed me graffiti, fat shoelaces and parachute pants and all that crazy stuff, and watching all the movies and stuff like that. So I got into it. Being an artist, graffiti, I was addicted to it. The second I saw graffiti, I was like, oh my God, I have to do that. And one of my friend Gary's I used to skate with, used to do graffiti all the time on my skateboards. And he's the one that got me to like, okay, I gotta do this. I gotta do this. And I just started doing it. And then next thing you know, I'm getting my girlfriend to take me to like illegal spots because I didn't have a car and she had a car. So I get her to like drive me. She'd buy me the paint and then drive me to the spots. And yeah, she was super, super cool. I started painting these spots, and that's what people were like, who is this guy coming out of nowhere? But I was doing like characters and stuff like that. So I wasn't just like coming out doing bubble letters. I was coming out doing okay stuff, I guess, for people to notice it,
You gotta start. I mean,
it when I look at it now, it's funny, but back then I was like, it's still good for like back then, considering what the cans we're using and the caps we were using and all that. Like kids have no idea.
Yeah.
How could they have it?
So many choices.
Yes.
So many colors that you don't even have to mix your own color. So many caps. I mean, I had a great, absolutely amazing podcast conversation with Kate a couple of months ago. I mean, it was back in the early 80s here in Miami, and they were mixing their own paint. They were doing incredible stuff. Sometimes they were using paint from the car dealership. Like that, they could have different shades of blue, different shades.
Any spray paint you could get your hands on was just free paint. Didn't matter if it was engine paint, whatever paint it was, this and that. Because you're always going to see the same colors at Kmart or wherever you were buying your Krylon from, or your Rustos, buying them
loosely.
And there was, you couldn't buy caps. The caps, you had to take the caps.
Oh, yeah.
Tester cans, the clear coats. Oh no, what comes with it sucks. Yeah. What you have to do is go to the clear coats, because they had the New York skinnies on there. Oh. And the tester cans, the little tiny cans that were for like spray painting like models and stuff, they had the same caps on there. And then you can go to the bug and tar cleaners. They had softball caps for fat caps on them that would fit on Krylon. So there was, you're not buying all that, you're just taking the caps off. Caps were sacred back then. It took a while before you got like a store maybe in New York that sold caps. And you're like, oh, you could buy caps. And now it's like, buy caps by the hundreds.
Bags that are so big, yes. So when did you develop your characters? Because you say you were absolutely mesmerized, really into the hip-hop.
So the characters came from being an only child in Paris. I used to copy my comic books. The way I got started really is I saw that my mom like drew me Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse, which back in France, I used to drink Disney. And when I realized you could actually draw them, it was like a thing. You could actually draw these characters and you don't just read them in a book. I was like, oh, I started really getting into drawing. When I saw graffiti characters, I was like, oh, characters. So I really got into characters because I wasn't drawing graffiti when I was in France. I was drawing just cartoon characters. Yeah. So the characters were my thing. And there's a guy named Clear, right?
French guy, yeah.
Clear, no, he's an American guy from down here. He was in FS, BSK, and all that. And we used to hang out. I used to go over his house all the time, and we just hang out and smoke and just draw in each other's black books. And he really got me into characters a lot more. That's how I got into the characters a lot. I just loved drawing characters. And then Clear, Mode 2 from France, man. Oh, the first time I saw this guy's characters, holy crap!
Oh yeah.
I was like, man. That's another thing that took me to another level. I'm like, I got into characters, and Can 2, just so many people, and I don't know. I just really attached to characters.
Attached to characters, but your characters are specific.
Yes.
B-boys and B-girls. This is what you do most of the time.
Because that's what I was doing.
Related to music.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to your website, you see Eminem, you see Snoop Dogg, and all.
So the reason why I do all these rappers, is not because who they are. It's because of the shoes.
Oh,
I did Travis Scott. You know, I love to paint shoes.
yes.
So I did Travis Scott because of the Travis Scotts. I did Eminem because of the Eminem 4s. I did Jay-Z because of the Rockefeller Air Force Ones, right? I did Snoop because of the low top Chucks, you know, for the LA and the West Coast people. I did Ye.
Yes.
I did the Yeezys. I did them because they had a shoe and I like to paint shoes. That's another thing. I love to paint shoes, sneakers. So I was like, oh, I might as well paint the character with it because of the shoes. And I've yet to make my Jordan painting. That's going to be a super awesome painting, and I'm reserving that. I'm going to wait till I really have a lot of studio time and I can really put a lot of time into it, because I've painted so many Jordans but never painted actually Jordan. And there's a lot of Jordan paintings. I want to make sure mine's not like the same like all the others. And so the reason why they all have big heads, big hands, and big feet, because I want to paint the shoes realistically, and so they need to be pretty large, right? And I like to paint hands and I like to paint faces. So to be able to put detail in the hands, I need to make them big, and the head's big also. So I just make these little bodies with bigger heads and bigger hands and bigger feet, so I can put details in the hands and the heads and in the shoes. And then the rest of it, I don't really care. I just make it super skinny and like fit in the canvas. I basically put the hands and the face in the shoes, and then I make the body fit in the canvas in between all of it or some way.
Yeah, but you go into so much details. They all and their bucket hats and all those different things that were at the time back in the 80s and 90s part of the hip hop culture. It's something your representation of the hip hop culture you're painting is super.
Because that's where graffiti, well, I wouldn't say that's where graffiti comes from. There's a thing between graffiti and the elements of hip hop, and where some people might say that graffiti was never an element of hip hop. It was added.
It was
after, because, you know, hip hop is basically music. So you have the people that dance to it, the people that DJ it, people that sing to it. But when it comes to graffiti, a lot of graffiti artists back in the 70s and the 80s, they didn't listen to hip hop at all. They were listening to, you know, old rock and roll and the stuff like that.
But it's more like the hip hop musicians who wanted that background scene.
So from
down on the street, they have the.
From what I hear from a really well-known graffiti artist that everybody knows, that when they shot a movie, that it was about hip hop and everything, and they didn't really have enough content, so they added the graffiti writers because they were kind of like hanging out. They were like graffiti wherever you see the people breakdancing, graffiti in the clubs where the DJs are, right? This and that. So they implemented it. But then there's a lot of people that are not into hip hop at all. They're like, I'm a graffiti artist and I have nothing to do with hip hop. I don't know. That's a whole other huge discussion. You know, I was in New York back in the days. I don't really. This is just, you know.
Oh, you did live in New York?
No. I've never lived in New York. No. I've never. No. This is a story from a New York writer. I don't want to sit out here and be like, oh, you know, controversial. Oh, this guy says it's not part of, you know.
Well, yes.
Me, I don't know. I'm happy it's part of hip hop. Whatever, you know. I have nothing to say about it. I don't.
No, but just a lot of album covers were made by graffiti artists too.
Yeah.
All those things. So they were using, actually, this is the hip hop movement who used some of the graffiti movements they kind of combine both of them.
Well, also graffiti movement was really like trying to get the kids from like being in gangs and stuff like that and give them things to do, like break dancing and this and that. So back in the days, you would break dance battle. If you had beef with somebody, nowadays you just drive by, shoot each other, then the guy's going to get shot for shooting that dude, and that guy's going to get shot for shooting that dude. It never ends, right? So they would just do a breakdance battle. And then that's it. The crowd says, you're the man, you're the man. You fucking shake hands, and that's it, right? Same with graffiti battles.
Oh.
So that's what I'm saying. So maybe it's a cool thing that they implemented that, so kids could battle in graffiti. You know, instead of like having to fight in guns or fight in fists, they could be like, okay, well, I'm this name and I'm this name, or we both want to be this name. Let's do both pieces and have the judges thing, and whoever wins, the other guy never writes that name ever again and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was a good way to, because that's what hip hop first started. It was all about like giving the kids a different, if you listen to hip hop, it was about like party, come on, everybody in the play, you know, like it was all about partying and this and that. It was never about.
So talking about now, how did you pick your The name is Smog One. And why one? Is there only Smog Two?
Well, so one is because, so let's say you're a graffiti artist and you're just starting and you don't have a crew, right? You're a oneer,
Okay.
right? That's what you are. So I was Smog One. I was riding around my girl, doing graffiti, this and that. It's not till later that I got into a crew. So that's why a lot of people will put one there, because they started probably as just being Smog One, or they want to be the first Smog or whatever, which I'm not. I'm the third.
Oh, you're the third?
Yes, I am the third.
But you're still Smog One.
But I'm legitimately Smog One from the people in New York. I had to be legitimized before Art Crimes could even do an interview with me. And she's actually sent me 2 pictures from New York of trains, subway trains, with 2 different smogs on them. And they're like, well, what's up with this? So I had to call Tattoo, the president of XMEN in New York, and tell him what's going on. And he came back to me with the answers of like, okay, this is who this guy is, and then this is who this guy is. So a lot of people might not know, but Dondi actually used to write Smog, and Kel too. They would flip that name between each other. A lot of people don't know that.
That's a scoop.
I had to find out by that, because they didn't understand why there was a Smog piece with a Dondi tag on it. And then there's the other Smog that used to write with Ghost all the time, right? But I was told he didn't write anymore. So they're like, you can use the word Smog because it's okay now. But I got that from New York. I didn't just start writing. I started writing Smog, but I was legitimized by them in order for Art Crimes to be able to do the interview with me. She wouldn't do it unless I was like legit, right? So yeah, and the funny part is one time during Art Basel at Ernie's place,
yes,
I met Kel, and I was surrounded with Mayor, Kel, like a bunch of crazy artists from New York. I couldn't even believe the people that were around me. And I go to Kel, I'm like, it's so funny because you used to write Smog. And everyone just got really quiet and looked at me like, what the fuck is he saying? Like, what is he talking about? And Kel goes, how do you know that? Everyone just went, what? Wait, what? What is going on right now? And he was like, me and Donnie feel like, he's like, wow, that's crazy, you know that. And then there's this huge collector that I know, Drew, and he's so knowledgeable about everything. And I was like, he used to write Smog. He had to go look in the Dondi book. And sure enough, it fucking says it in there that he used to write Smog. A lot of people don't know that. And I didn't know that either. Till, I saw the picture and I had to find that out. To answer your question, Smog is, in Paris, there's a lot of smog. Like you go in the alleys, right? You see like you'd see like in cartoons, kind of like that smog creeping through the alleys. So at night, it creeps through the alleys. So that's me. I'm at night creeping through the alleys, doing tags, doing murals. So that's how I got Smog. And I kind of like the way the letters fit together as well.
Yeah,
that's how I came up with Smog.
A short name, 3 or 4 letters, pretty...
Yeah, the reason why it was like, how come everyone had 3-letter names and 4-letter names? Because we're doing shit illegally. We don't have that much time to sit on a train or sit on a billboard, to sit on the side of a building, on top of Winn-Dixie on the side of 95 at 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's like...
So talking about these characters that you're doing, I mean, what's super, super impressive is how you do those big glasses that they wear. Transparency of the lens and everything.
The Cazals. So I use...
Just so beautiful.
So the way I do my transparencies is a lot of people like, when they do graffiti and spray paint, like when they have, let's say, the yellow glasses, right? They'll use yellow paint to paint inside the glasses because you're looking through yellow tint. I don't do that. I paint the whole skin tone, and then I take yellow transparent and I spray yellow transparent on top of it. So now it's like you're really looking through a yellow lens at the skin tone. And I do that with yellow glaze on my canvases and yellow transparent on the murals. Because I saw always people using the colored paint. And I'm like, why don't you just do a colored glaze on top of it and you have the skin tone in a yellow tone instead of yellows. I've been doing that for a really long time.
And there's also a couple of other elements in your paintings that are always present.
Yep, I know where you're going. Yep, the pigeon.
And the little spray cap.
Yeah, the fly cap.
The fly cap. Those 2 elements, where do they come from?
So the pigeon is, when I lived in Paris, there's pigeons everywhere. And I would live in Italy for a month every year, right? Because in Europe, people take actual vacations for like a month. Business is shut down. There's like, you don't get a choice, right? I'll go to Italy, but where we are, it's like there's the big plazas and the statues, and I remember just running through the pigeons and stuff like that. And I know there's pigeons in New York. It was like, oh, those are New York pigeons. I'm like, nah, they're European pigeons. Same thing, but whatever. But yeah, so the pigeon is kind of like the reminder of like Europe.
Yes.
Because here I don't see, I mean, you see pigeons, but they're not walking with you as you're walking down the sidewalk, right? Like they are in Italy or Paris and stuff like that. So that's what the pigeon's from. It's a reminder of Paris, but for the character, it serves as the character's spirit animal. The pigeon and the character are always one. You'll see the pigeon's always sitting on his head, or always there. So in my mind, the pigeon, when let's say you're going to go do, a piece or whatever, the pigeon goes up and is your eyes.
Okay.
Is looking out for you. He's like your little lookout. It's like, okay, pigeon, go up. I'm about to do a tag. And if he sees a cop or anyone coming, he'll make a noise and you're like, to bail. So it's kind of like they're kind of like little partners, and it's like a spirit animal that's always there looking out for him. So the pigeon is always around. And the fly cap, I don't know. One day I pictured like a little cap flying around, and I was like, it's like a little fly. I'm like, oh, it's like a fly cap. So I just started doing it, and then some people were like, oh, I love the little cap flying around. And I'm like, oh, yeah, and I just kept doing it. I don't know. It's just a little thing I came up with, a little fly cap.
So that fly cap will be in the piece that you used today for the Aeroda Fest, like we said, you're the part of it this year. So what's the whole big piece that you are doing?
So I'm just doing basically a 3D smog piece. The theme is 3D.
Yes.
And it seems a lot like people will be like, okay, do something. They're like, but we want your characters. They never want they never want like the 3D because because some people don't understand it or it's graffiti. So they want my characters every time.
Well, but that's what you said this afternoon. You want to be remembered for your art. So that's what the people, the association, Smog One, this is the character. They see the character, they see those B-boys, B-girls, and of course they see the pigeon, they see the flag cap.
But I don't want them to forget about the graffiti artist. There's a graffiti artist that does lettering. Remember that. I'm that.
You are.
So I got to make sure that I can still pop some letters and this and that. And then I thought of doing a character and adding a character to the piece. It's just the amount of time.
Yes.
It's gonna take another 8 days. I paint really slow, people.
You do paint really
very low pressure, and I use McLean caps or gray dot skinny caps.
So for the people who know, that doesn't speed up the process.
No, low pressure, the most low pressure cap you could probably use, but I like details, like you were saying, details. That's what makes the piece.
And the shading and everything, and it's just like...
And you have to use the transparency. There's a lot of detail. The more detail, my brain does not let me not do detail. It's impossible for me to not do detail. I have people watch me paint, they'll be like, that painting was done last week. You were already done with it last week and you're still working on it.
Yeah.
And they're like, no one will know what you just did. It was already perfect a week ago. And I'm like, yeah, but look, see this little line right here? That little white reflection line has to be on there. They're like, nobody is ever gonna say that, ever.
Yeah. Maybe some other graffiti artists.
But like I can't let it go.
Yes, you just can't let it go.
I can't let it go. It's hard. That's why I paint sneakers, because I like to paint every stitch.
Every stitch, yes.
But it's fun because then people are like, oh my God, there's so much detail in it.
Well, and then they got to see you, they have a chance to see you painting even longer than, so Aeroda Fest is going to be the whole week. You think at the end of the week you're going to be done with the wall?
I'm going to really, really try. I mean, I never used fat casts, but I bought a bunch of them. So I need to, now that I have the paint, I'm going to do the background first, fat caps only.
All right.
I'm going to make myself fat caps only, do the background really quickly, and then just concentrate on the letters. And
when you come back the next day, you're going to look at it and say, why did I do this?
No, I just got to take my time. That's it. As long as I take my time, I'm fine.
Well, but you're in a great spot. I mean, you're not going
Oh,
to
yeah.
too much this week.
No one's bothering me. The people that are like working there are really cool. So,
And it's a piece that's going to stay a while because, I mean, nobody can really have access during the day to this place, even if you can see it from the street. You really,
which you can't even really see it from the street. So,
so that piece is going to stay. Smog, thank you so much for those that little time. Hopefully it's not too painful that it took.
no, not at all.
It's just a little, a little chat.
Sure.
About your art. I mean, you're someone we met about 10 years ago when you were painting actually right down the street at the time. The very first time we met, you were painting on Broward Boulevard, that long alleyways when you have those Italian buildings. You told me at the time that you were doing this wall pretty much every year. You were redoing the wall. It's on the west side of 95.
On the west side of 95.
Yeah. That's well, if I show you some pictures, you're gonna see this.
I've painted so many places.
And I took pictures of the wall, and you were kind of.
Oh yeah.
It is
so you
done yet. At the time.
It was in Fort Lauderdale where the guy had a tattoo shop.
Yes.
Spade had a tattoo shop there, and I did the Fano piece, the Italian piece, and the Paris piece there.
Cool.
That's what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yes, this is when I was tattooing, and every spare time that I had, I was tattooing, so I could only work on it on weekends. I only had 2 days off, and those 2 days off, I would go down there, paint nonstop, and then. Well, I wasn't tattooing there.
Yeah.
I was tattooing at a different shop. I was tattooing in Palm Beach.
Okay.
But he was like, yeah, you can have, no. He was just somebody else different that I knew from my boy Legend, right? And he's like, hey, this guy will let us paint whatever we want on his walls in Fort Lauderdale. So we went over there, and he just let me paint. Me and Dre did the pieces there. Me, Legend, and Dre. We're the three that were painting there. That me and Dre did we split the wall in half at one point.
Yeah.
And we did that twice, the Paris piece and the Italian piece. He had the other half. And that was fun.
So this was the first time that we met. So
yeah.
Anyway,
man, that's so long ago.
It is just was yesterday.
Yeah, well, it's crazy.
Well, this is what the name of the podcast is, Write Your Narrative. And thank you so much for writing the graffiti narrative in South Florida with all the influence you have, everything that you bring into your art, all that precision, all that craziness in this work. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, Smog, this is it. Guys, we'll see you next week. Have a great one. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye now.